Most people think detachment means you stop caring. That is the first misunderstanding. And it is the one that stops most people from ever learning how to actually do it. Because if detachment means becoming cold, becoming emotionless, becoming the kind of person who feels nothing and needs nobody, then most people do not want it. And honestly, that version of detachment is not even real. It is just numbness wearing a spiritual name. And numbness is not peace. Numbness is just pain that has been pushed so far down it stopped making noise. Real detachment is something completely different. Real detachment does not mean you stop caring about people or outcomes or things that matter to you. It means you stop letting those things have complete control over your peace. It means you can want something genuinely, pursue it fully, invest in it completely, and still be okay if it does not go the way you hoped. It means you can love someone deeply without your entire emotional state being held hostage by what they do or do not do. It means you can be fully present in your life without clinging so tightly to any one part of it that losing that part destroys you. That is the version of detachment worth learning. And the good news is that it is not as complicated or as distant as most people think. There are specific, practical things you can do, starting right now, that will begin to shift how tightly you are holding on to the things that are currently causing you the most pain. Not tricks in the cheap sense. Genuine mental and behavioral shifts that work because they address the actual root of why attachment becomes suffering in the first place. Here are 6 of them. In plain language. No philosophy degree required. Trick 1. Name what you are attached to out loud. This sounds too simple to work. It works anyway. Most of the time when we are suffering because of attachment, the attachment is operating underneath our awareness. We are anxious, we are obsessing, we are checking our phone every 3 minutes, we are replaying the same conversation for the 47th time, and we are not fully conscious of the fact that we are doing all of this because we are desperately clinging to a particular outcome. We are not seeing the attachment clearly. We are just living inside the feeling it produces. The moment you say out loud, or write down clearly, exactly what you are attached to, something shifts. Say it specifically. Not just I am stressed about this relationship, but I am terrified that if he does not text me back today, it means he is losing interest and I will lose him and I will be alone. That specific, that honest, that uncomfortable. Because when you see it that clearly, 2 things happen. First, the attachment loses some of its unconscious power. Things that operate in the dark always lose power when you drag them into the light. Second, you can actually look at it clearly enough to ask whether the fear underneath the attachment is rational. Whether the outcome you are clinging to is actually as essential to your well-being as your anxiety is currently insisting it is. Most of the time, when you see it clearly, the answer is no. It matters, but it is not everything. And seeing that gap between what feels essential and what actually is essential is where detachment begins. Trick 2. Give yourself a full 2 minutes to feel it completely. Most people try to detach by suppressing, by telling themselves to stop thinking about it, stop caring, move on, be stronger than this, and suppression does not work. What you resist tends to persist. What you push down tends to come back up harder. The feelings you refuse to feel do not go away. They just find other ways to express themselves, usually at inconvenient times in ways you did not choose. Instead of suppressing, try the opposite. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Sit down and feel the thing completely. Feel the anxiety, the jealousy, the fear, the longing, whatever the attachment is producing in you, and just let it be there fully for 2 minutes. Do not judge it. Do not try to fix it. Do not tell yourself you should not be feeling it. Just feel it completely. What most people discover when they do this is that the feeling, when they actually let themselves feel it fully instead of fighting it, is survivable. It is uncomfortable, sometimes very uncomfortable, but it does not last forever and it does not destroy you. And knowing that the feeling is survivable is one of the most powerful things you can learn. Because a lot of the grip that attachment has over us comes not from the feeling itself but from our fear of the feeling. When you prove to yourself that you can feel it and be okay, the fear of feeling it loosens. And when that fear loosens, the attachment that was producing the feeling loosens too. Trick 3. Shift your focus from the outcome to the action. A massive amount of attachment suffering comes from being focused on something you cannot control. Whether they respond, whether they choose you, whether the thing works out, whether the result comes. All of those things are outside your direct control. And focusing your energy on things you cannot control is one of the fastest ways to make yourself miserable. The shift is this. Every time you catch yourself focused on the outcome, redirect deliberately to the action. What can you actually do right now? Not what can you hope for, not what can you wish for, not what can you obsess over, but what can you actually do? Then do that thing, completely, with full attention. This works for two reasons. First, it gives your brain something to actually engage with instead of spinning in circles around something it cannot affect. Second, over time it builds genuine confidence. Because you start to accumulate evidence that you are capable, that you are taking good actions, that you are doing your part. And that confidence makes the outcome feel less terrifying. Because even if the outcome does not go the way you want, you know you did what you could. And that knowledge that I showed up fully and did my part is something nobody can take from you. Trick 4. Practice the 24-hour rule before you react. One of the biggest ways attachment makes our lives harder is by making us react immediately to everything that threatens it. He did not text back, and within 30 minutes you have sent 3 follow-up messages that you already regret. She said something that felt dismissive, and you immediately fired back in a way that escalated everything. You got news that an outcome you wanted is not coming, and you immediately made 3 decisions from a place of panic that you would not have made from a place of calm. Immediate reaction to attachment threats almost always makes things worse, because you are not reacting from your best self. You are reacting from your most scared, most desperate, most attached self. And that version of you rarely makes good decisions. The 24-hour rule is simple. When something happens that triggers a strong reaction, you give yourself 24 hours before you respond or act. Not 24 hours of stewing and obsessing. 24 hours of continuing to live your life. Eating, sleeping, moving your body, doing other things. And then after 24 hours you check in with yourself. Do you still feel the same urgency? Do you still want to say or do the same thing? Most of the time the answer is no. The urgency has passed. The reaction has softened. And from that calmer place you can respond in a way that actually serves you rather than just expressing your fear. Trick 5. Build a life so full that no single thing can empty it. This is the most practical detachment trick of all. And it is the one that produces the most lasting results. Most of the reason attachment becomes suffering is because we have placed too much of our happiness in one basket. One relationship that has to work. One outcome that has to happen. One person whose opinion of us determines how we feel about ourselves. And when you have that much riding on one thing, of course you cling to it. Of course the thought of losing it feels unbearable. Because in some ways it actually is unbearable, given how much you have concentrated there. The solution is not to care less about that thing. The solution is to build a life so rich and full in other areas that no single thing carries all the weight. Invest in friendships that nourish you. Build skills that make you feel capable. Create things that give you a sense of meaning. Take care of your body in ways that make you feel strong. Pursue interests that make you feel alive. Develop a relationship with yourself that is honest and kind and sustaining. When you have all of that, when your life has multiple genuine sources of joy and meaning and connection, the loss of any one thing, while still painful, is no longer catastrophic. Because the rest of your life is still there, still full, still yours. And that fullness is the foundation that real detachment is built on. Not emptiness, not caring. Fullness. A life so genuinely rich that you can hold things loosely because you are not dependent on any one of them to be okay. Trick 6. Remind yourself daily that everything is temporary. Everything. The good things and the bad things. The things you are desperately clinging to and the things you are desperately trying to avoid. The relationships, the feelings, the circumstances, the outcomes. All of it is temporary. All of it changes. All of it passes. This is not a depressing thought. I know it can sound that way at first, but sit with it for a moment and see if you can find what is actually underneath it. If everything is temporary, then the pain you are in right now is also temporary. The attachment that feels so urgent and consuming and impossible to loosen right now will not feel this way forever. It will shift. It will ease. It will eventually become something you look back on from a different, calmer, more settled place. And if everything is temporary, then clinging tightly to anything is ultimately fighting against the nature of reality. Not because things do not matter, they do, but because the clinging itself, the desperate holding on, does not actually keep things in place. It just makes the inevitable changes more painful than they need to be. When you remind yourself daily that everything passes, you naturally begin to hold things more gently. You enjoy what is good because you know it will not last forever. You endure what is hard because you know that will not last forever either. And in that gentle holding, in that open hands approach to your own life, you find a kind of peace that clinging never produces. That is detachment, not coldness, not caring, just open hands, a full life, calm mind, and the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you will be okay no matter what happens next. I run on subscribers, not batteries. If this gave you something real, that button costs you nothing and it means everything.